Hello YouTube. Um, I'm coming to talk to you about session 0, but I don't like being on camera, so you're going to focus on what I'm doing, which is painting, which is why the glasses. I am currently painting a rust monster. We are using Minotaur, oh here it is, Minotaur hide. I've got my rust monster color. And yes, these are Nuzzole's Marvelous Pigments, and this is Nolzur's Rust Monster. He's a pretty cool monster. If you look up Mr.Rhexx on YouTube, he does a lovely little video telling you all about a Rust Monster and their evolution from first edition or AD&D or basic D&D to all the way to current edition. And I saw the video and I was telling my kids about it, and they became very paranoid that I was going to put this into the campaign. So I got a mini and decided to make them a little bit more paranoid. So this is the base coat. This is the base coat Minotaur hide because I'm going to go over it several times. This one is just the bottom, and it doesn't matter that that there's spots where it's thinner, because this is almost all going to be covered up. In case you've never done a mini painting before, and if you are an expert and you don't like how I'm doing it, I don't care. I'm not an expert on mini painting. I paint usually with oils, so this was a new hobby for me, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it, so I don't care what anybody says. So anyways, let's talk about session 0 and how important it is to your campaign. They don't really talk about this like in, if you found the rules online, but if you did find the rules online, I'm sure you've found message boards and seen many, many questions and probably had a lot of yours answered. But anyways, it doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about it too. Session 0 is what you do before your campaign officially starts. So it helps everybody get on the same page. So you want to talk about your expectations, and you want to listen to your players' expectations, because that's very important in the game. It's not just your game as the DM, it's everybody's game. So we need to recognize that and work like that. And I need a cushion because my butt is hurting. I've got all my setup here with the light and everything. I like to paint down here at this table. Mayhem tends to get involved. I gave him some soft food, but he ate it before I could even start the video. So he's probably going to hop up here and I might have to throw him out and stuff. Session 0s. I don't have an official one in my game because I'm playing with my children. So we end up talking about the campaign way before it starts, and of course leading up to it. So many times, many little sessions, we sit down and discuss new characters, more than one time. It's over and over, and come up with backstories over time. Now, most people can't do this or aren't doing this because you want to get on the campaign trail, and I try not to too much because I don't want to get them hyped about a campaign we're not doing. I want them to focus on the one that we are doing. Sometimes it's really hard. But so they tend to go in knowing what's coming. Session 0s. You want to talk about how you're going to run your game. You're going to want to talk about how you handle rules questions, so that there's, if you want to handle them outside a game and you don't want to interrupt your game flow, then you need to tell your players that, so that when they have an issue, they don't feel like they're not being heard. They'll know, oh, well, that's right. The DM said we'll do it after session, and then he'll come back to this, and we'll retcon if we need to. You need to handle how you handle retconning, because like you shouldn't be doing a lot of it, but sometimes it's needed. So maybe you want to make it clear to your players that if it's needed, it will happen, but it's going to be a rare thing. You know what I mean? You want to talk about how you handle leveling up. Do you do milestone, or do you do XP? Right, now I need dish. Why is it stuck? Your players may or may not have experience with one or the other, and that's important to know so that you can anticipate the questions they might have. You want to talk about your campaign setting, like is it high magic, is it low magic, are there any classes or skills or spells that are off limits? How do you handle treasures? Like, is it totally up to them, or is it automatically going to be split? Is it finders keepers? You know, how do you do that? Let's go with talk about the kinds of things that they're going to find in their campaign. What kind of environment are they going to be in? Like, if you're going to fight a bunch of undead, they might want to know that. It might be useful to know that, so they can anticipate that while making their characters. It's kind of mean to set them in a campaign where they're going to be mostly dealing with undead. Let them not make a cleric or a paladin or any kind of holy person, and then be like, well, you know, maybe, you know, once they're dying, be like, well, you should have done it this way. You know, talk to your players about that kind of thing. What kind of themes come up in your game? Are you going to have let's see, now I don't wipe out all my brush because I still want some of that color in here, and then I'm going to do the bottoms, but I don't want this light on right now. Well, maybe I should be gone. Yeah, we're gone. That didn't thin enough. There we go. Do you have any, you know, what things are unacceptable to them? That's super, like, what if they don't want any kind of body horror, or very limited body horror? My daughter is like that. She hates it if I talk about any weird things, like if the person's knees bend backwards, she hates that. It freaks her out. So, you know, but I know that because it's my kid and I see them all the time, and I might forget. But, or what if they're, you know, they don't want any suicide in here, or maybe they can't handle gender dysmorphias or anything like that. It's important to know, and if your campaign plans to have those, talk to your player about, like, what their limitations are. Maybe it's not as broad as you think. Maybe it's specific, like, you know, body horror. Maybe they can't handle extremes, but they can handle some. Maybe it's okay if it's like story driven and absolutely has to be done one time, but it's not going to happen every day. Some might have, you know, problems with relationships in game. Like, if you have one of those stereotypical bards who's going to sleep with everything, you decide if you're going to just fade to black, or if it's going to be more involved. Relationships between players, like if two of your players are dating, how are they going to handle their conflict? Have they ever played together before? Getting a sense of everybody's experience level is important, and what the expectations for the game are. So, what else is good for session 0? The environment that you're in, of course. If it's, I don't know what that was. Are you in hell? Are you in the jungle? Are you in hell? Are you in the jungle? Are you in the ice realm? Are you in the Feywild? Oh yeah, I like that. That looks great. I'll show you this in a second because I know you can't see it. This looks good. And that'll dry exactly how I want it to. And yet you see, like, I'm not using one of those thingies to hold it like a pill bottle or anything. That's okay. I don't mind getting paint all over my hands. Anyways, can you see the contrast in that? It's basically, I thinned it enough that it's like a wash. But I'm gonna get rid of some of that water. I'm gonna go back in and add more. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end up dry brushing some silver and stuff, colors on here, like mithril colors. And then after that, because this is just a pile of junk that thing's gonna eat. It should have already been eaten, so it just should be piles of dust. Because once this eats things, it's just dust. It's not fully formed swords and shields. But that gets all the crevices in there. And then I'll go back and I'll put the silver colors in here, and any other individual colors that I want, because there's a lot of detail in here. Like there's sword hilts, and there's a gauntlet, and there's a shield, so I can, you know, add some color. Heck, that's actually, I could make that a dead hand, decaying hand. I think I might do that. And then I'll go and I'll paint, put all the details in. This helps me see the details. And then what I will do is I'll dry brush some rusty color on it. Maybe not this one. Some of that I put a couple of coats on that. I'll come back and maybe put some rusty colors on there, and then I'm gonna put a brown wash on there. What color brown do I got here? I think I've just brown wash. Yep, just plain old brown wash. And it'll do that too. But this way I don't miss any colors or any spots and have some gray hanging out. Some bright gray. I don't want that. I definitely want all these things in there. Alright. What else for session 0s? Talked about the environment, talked about leveling, talked about, oh, your character, when, you know, if you want, you can even have your characters, they can have their characters figure out their backstories and see if they interact. Like, maybe you don't like the whole met at a tavern. Maybe you want them to, like, you know, well, we grew up in this town together, or we're on the road adventuring together. This gives them a chance to meet each other's characters and figure out, you know, you can all work together, figure out a different way to enter the story. If I remember correctly, I tried to use Rust Monster color before, and it was very thin to start with. That's why I did a base coat on here. It's very bright orange. For my pokey tool, I use a tack. It works great. Ooh, that looks super bright. Let's start with let's do the antenna and the tail, that color first, so I can see. And no, I didn't thin it at all. Like I said, I think if I remember, this one, it is very thin. It's also very shiny. I did it on a cloak for one of my other minis, and I had to go back over it like 4 times, and that was just over primer. That wasn't over another color or anything. And it was very, 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 very shiny. Looked like I had varnished it, and I hadn't. And I know I'm using a teeny, teeny, teeny brush because I want to. I do it my way. Anyways, having session 0, get all on the same page, answer any questions your players have. Each one will be unique to you and your players. Like I said, I don't have one with mine because we do it impromptu over the time of waiting for the campaign. Like we are going to be doing Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's going to be epic. Talk to the kids about 10 Towns and Icewind Dale all the time. I've introduced them to this story of Dritz. And, you know, the kind of monsters. So basically, it's like, they're kids. They're 10, 11, and 15. The 15-year-old can keep stuff separate, and he's always reminding the others, oh, we didn't do that. These characters don't know that. But, oh yeah, that looks pretty good. This is, like, I want them to know some of the history. Their characters live in Forgotten Realms, so they would know some things, and they would have heard some stories. So that's the way I view it, is I'm giving them lore, so that way, when we're playing it, I don't have to be doing it then. They're going to remember, and it's going to be, you know, it's hard for them, as young as they are, to not use what they've learned from other themes. And some of that's pretty cool, like, they went to Chult, and of course there's the Flaming Fist there, and now we're doing Tyranny of Dragons, and they got to Baldur's Gate, and they're like, the Flaming Fists are here? Like, yeah, remember when you were in Chult, we talked about how they're from Baldur's Gate, and they're operating on that, and so they liked that, they enjoyed it. But, so that's a session 0. My channel's supposed to be about helping you be a DM, so I should talk about those things, not just show you the crap that I bought. Although I'll do that a lot. And you can see some of it while I paint. So I don't have to be on camera. It's an interesting contrast. Orange is my least favorite color. I really don't like orange. So I'm having to like think about this guy being entirely orange is just making my skin crawl right now. So that's also why I did the brown first. I guess in a later, I'll when I finish him up, I'll put him on my Twitter, and then you can see how the rust monster looks. And you can, you know, leave all your mean comments about how I don't do it right. That's fine. I don't care. This makes me happy. So I really don't care what everybody else. And do what makes you happy. It's the rule of D&D too, you know, in my opinion. But I go over that. Do what makes you happy. It's the beauty. It's your world. Make it yours. Yeah, I'm gonna need another color. I guess I could do red. I don't know. God, he's ugly. He's so ugly. Look at that. Alright, I'm not going to keep painting in front of you guys. Okay, gotta add this. I'm still working on this guy, but I needed to add about leveling. This is something that you guys might want to bring up in a session 0 is when I do my leveling, shoot, that's gotten too dry. When I do my leveling, an important thing that we do is we don't level up in game. We don't level up in game. We wait until after the session. So I tend to stop session when they go for a rest, because I feel that's a good spot to break. When we get to the rest, we'll go, at the end of session, I'll be like, hey guys, so you have enough I do XP leveling. You guys have enough XP, you're going to be, blah 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 level, so why don't we go ahead and take a look at the player's handbook and see if you get any new feats or spells or whatever, and we do that then. So that way it doesn't interrupt the game. Sometimes we have to stop in the middle of battle because, well, sometimes it just gets too heated and everybody's gotten frustrated, and it's like, alright, we're stopping here. We'll come back later and we'll do it. We'll do more then. So, like in those situations, I'll give them their HPs usually right then, because that's depending on the battle. I mean, if it's like against goblins, why do you need more XPs? But at the same time, why not? It's not going to change the battle at all. So, so sometimes I'll give them their HPs right away, especially if they level up early or towards the middle or not close to the end of the session. If we, but normally it's at the end. They don't keep track of their XPs because, well, they're just kids and they forget. So I keep track of it on my little, I have a little piece of paper and I fold it in threes because there's 3 players, and one section will be all smashes, the next one's inferiors, and then the next one is num-nums, and I keep track of their spell slots so they don't try to trick me or lie to me, and I go, I do, I keep track of the XPs and how many enemies they've battled and things like that. And so we do that at the end of session, and they know that. So if you're going to do something similar, you might want to discuss that in session 0. That's important for them to know. If you're doing milestones, same thing. Like, you're going to get to the milestone end of episode or whatever and be like, okay, so we'll, everybody's now level 4, whatever. But say you planned to keep going that night. Are you going to level them up right then and stop your game? You can take a break. Things like that. So that they know what to expect and don't feel like you're hindering their play at all. Like I said, we do ours at the end of session. And sometimes if, like, when we end because it's everybody's gotten frustrated, then I will sit down with them before the start of the next session, and we'll go over what they've gained with their level up. That way it keeps it keeps the game going. I don't like to interrupt my session, in case you can't tell. I forgot to say that at the start, and that's why this is edited in. Alright. There we go. This guy's coming along nicely.